Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome back or welcome to the channel if you are new. Today I really wanted to fall back into the spooky content of this channel and discuss something that I thought was quite interesting. So today we are going to be talking about the 10 top haunted places in London. I have lived near London and some of these places I've actually never heard of before, so I do hope within this you find some hidden gems too. If you know of all these places that I mentioned and you've been there, do let me know in the comments below. I love to read comments, I read them all. I have been to a couple, but I've definitely added more to my bucket list now of things to see in London. So at number 10, we have Liverpool Street Station. Liverpool Street Station is one of the oldest stations in London, having been built in 1874. Upon research, I found that Liverpool Street Station was built on the grounds of a dilapidated hospital. And even creepier, there was rumours that it was actually built on a mass burial site, which was confirmed to be true in 2015, when they unearthed thousands of skeletons. They believe that these people were actually people that died in the plague and are now said to haunt Liverpool Street Station. The staff at the station are accustomed to seeing paranormal activity at the station because on CCTV there has been numerous shadowy figures. There is also a very constant occurring figure that seems to pace up and down the platforms, and he is seen to be wearing overalls. There is said to be an eerie feeling around the station, and feelings get worse at night. The atmosphere gets worse at night too. There has also been the sound of screams being heard by the staff, but not just the staff, also tourists. There are no other stations on this list, so Liverpool Street Station is said to be the most haunted station in London. So number 9 is Bruce Castle. Bruce Castle was originally built in the 16th century and it is a gorgeous manor that used to be called the Lordship House. It is situated in North London in a town called Tottenham. The manor was once home to Lady Constantina Lucy, who has a mysterious story about her death. There is a lot of speculation about how she met her end, and it is still questioned by historians and ghost hunters of today. Lady Lucy, which we'll call her just to make it easier for the sake of this story, was married to Henry Hare. Henry Hare inherited Bruce Castle after his father died from choking on a turkey bone. Lady Lucy and Henry Hare did not have a perfect marriage. In fact, Henry Hare got so tired of her and didn't want to be around her that he locked her away in the top of the family home. When things got worse between Lady Lucy and Henry Hare, Henry decided to move her. Now already she was in a loft, or what I can presume was a loft being the top of the house, so it must have been cold, damp, isolating. He decided that was still too good for Lucy. So he decided to lock her in a tiny room in the clock tower of Bruce Castle. In horrific circumstances and absolutely overcome with the feeling of isolation, confinement and depression, it is said that Lady Lucy jumped off the balcony of the clock tower. There is also a part that I read which I will include, and it states that she jumped off with her small child. That indicates that Henry did not just put his wife in this tiny room, he put her in there with his child too. When Lady Lucy jumped off the balcony with her small child, this of course did kill both of them. 200 years later, there were reports of seeing Lady Lucy in the Tottenham and Edmonton Advertiser. Extracts from this historic newspaper report in March of 1858 include a story that an officer asked a lady who lived in Tottenham whether or not she'd ever seen the ghost of Bruce Castle. It says that on the night that the ladyship died, around November, a wild form can be seen as she stood on the fatal parapet, and her despairing cry is heard floating away on the autumnal blast. Despite the infamous paranormal activity being a less-known ghost story in the UK, Bruce House today now operates as a museum and guests can take a tour of the grounds. Number 8 is Clink Prison. The Clink Prison is renowned for its paranormal activity and ghostly sightings. The UK's biggest ghost hunting company regularly hold meetings at the Clink for members of the public to come and experience ghostly sightings. The name Clink seems to have been attached to the prison in the 14th century. No one knows the actual reason why the prison is called the Clink, but the most commonly argued reasoning is that it was the sound of the blacksmith's hammer when they would close the irons around the wrists and ankles of the prisoners. There is also the argument that the Flemish word clink means latch, which could have also been the reasoning as to why the prison was called the Clink. The prison subsequently bequeathed the name to all the others, resulting in the development of the expression to be thrown in the clink. The Clink hosted a variety of prisoners, drunks and petty crimes, etc. But there was also some famous prisoners too, including Sir Thomas Wyatt the Younger, who rebelled against Queen Mary, who is better known as Bloody Mary. The ghost hunting experiences that are carried out within the Clink include carrying out vigils and seances throughout the night. Participants who come on the ghost hunting tours have the availability to use Ouija boards, glass divination, and other methods to try and contact the dead. Number 7 is room 333 or 333 at the Langham Hotel. The Langham Hotel was built in 1865 and has nearly 500 rooms. Due to people coming and going for hundreds of years, there is a lot of reasoning as to why people believe that the hotel is haunted. However, the hotel was only documented as being haunted once owned by the BBC. The BBC claimed that there are 5 ghosts that constantly reappear and haunt the hotel. When I read this, that it was only documented when the BBC owned it, it just made me not believe in this, because the BBC own it. They want to make money. What's the best thing to do to create tourism? Say that the hotel is haunted. Maybe I'm just a little bit judgmental on the BBC, but I also haven't been there, so I haven't experienced this myself. So who knows? Ghost sightings in the hotel have included seeing a German prince or nobleman who was thought to have died because he jumped from the upper story window. Guests have said to have seen this man, and he is said to move through the walls, and each time he is seen, there is a very sudden drop in temperature. Room 333 is said to be the most haunted room in the Langham Hotel, as a BBC reporter said that there is a fluorescent ball of light which slowly took human shape. The apparition is said to have hovered 2 feet above the floor, and the portion in which its legs should have been were missing. They also said that the apparition was dressed in extravagant Victorian wear. When the reporter tried to make contact with the ghost and ask, "How can I help you? What can I do for you?" apparently the ghost reached out its arms and terrified the reporter into leaving the scene. The reporter then brought back another one of his colleagues to make sure that he wasn't just seeing things and that someone else could testify his story. The second reporter did actually make it in time to see the apparition, but he only saw the apparition as it was slowly fading away. It wasn't just the 2 reporters that saw the apparition that day. Other BBC staff said that they saw this ghostly figure too. England cricket teams have stayed at the hotel and had sleepless nights. Most of the team said that the rooms were exceptionally hot and they had to change the rooms so they could get a restful night's sleep. One cricketer actually said, "It was so hot in the room I just couldn't sleep. All of a sudden the taps in the bathroom came on for no reason. I turned the lights on and the taps turned themselves off. Then, when I turned the lights off again, the taps came on. It was very weird. It really freaked me out and I ended up asking to move rooms." However, if this doesn't put you off and it actually excites you into staying at the Langham Hotel, you can get a room for £265 based on 2 people sharing, or a suite for £500 based on 2 people sharing. Another addition of the Langham Hotel is that you can also get married there. Number 6 is the Tombs. I think out of most on this list, the Tombs of London, or the London Tombs, is an attraction that most people know about. Since the London Tombs has been combined with the London Bridge experience, it is regarded as an extremely haunted location. Staff have refused to actually work alone in the tombs because they're scared that they will come face to face with a spirit. Their reasoning is totally understandable too, because this has actually happened to other members of staff when they have worked alone. Groups that were on a paranormal investigation said that they saw a woman. However, when they looked back on CCTV, no woman was in that group that night, and no woman was working that evening either. This same woman is now referred to as Emily by the staff because numerous people have seen her. There has also been sightings of objects moving, loud bangs and dragging type noises. A plague pit was actually discovered in 2007 when work began on the London Bridge experience. Builders working on the excavation actually uncovered a mass grave full of skeletons. It scared the builders so much that they refused to ever work alone. London Bridge itself was also a site of gruesome happenings. In Tudor times, they would also impale the heads of criminals and traitors on the spikes of the bridge. And when the builders were doing the excavation, they found a lot of skulls had holes through the heads. Number 5 is the 10 Bells pub. Located in Spitalfields, the 10 Bells pub used to be called the Jack Ripper. The reason as to why the pub was originally called the Jack Ripper is because the landlord would frequently tell visitors that the pub was haunted by Annie Champman, which was a victim of Jack the Ripper. There has been an overwhelming report of tourists that have seen tables moving, chairs being thrown, loud noises, screams, etc., all kinds of paranormal activity happening within the pub. The pub is also said to have an association with another one of Jack the Ripper's victims, Mary Jane Kelly, as her body was found on the opposite side of the road from the 10 Bells pub. The pub now is also a location on the Jack the Ripper walking tour in London. Number 4, we have the Ragged School Museum. Ghost hunters claim that this building is one of the most haunted buildings they have ever visited. The school was originally built in 1871 to educate the poorest children in the East End of London. This came at a time when the prospects for poor people were virtually non-existent. So a man called Dr. Bernardo wanted to change this and make lives better for poorer people. It was at the time the largest school in London, as it was created from 3 converted warehouse buildings. However, although this sounds very nice, behind closed doors it is said that the treatment of children was anything less than kind. Because of this, the children that studied there are said to haunt this building. The school no longer functions and it is now a museum. Visitors of the museum claim poltergeist activity, things being thrown, screams being heard, disembodied voices, and actual full distinguished shadowy figures. You can feel a change in the temperature, a sinister atmosphere, and sometimes in empty rooms you can hear crying or laughing of those that sound like they're from a child. The basement is seen as the main point of supernatural activity, as there seems to be quite a friendly spirit who is that of a lone child who just seems to enjoy the living's company. At number 3 on our list is Highgate Cemetery. I don't think anyone will be surprised that a cemetery has come up on the list of most haunted in London. Highgate is one of the most beautiful cemeteries that I think you could visit. I actually went here the other day with a friend and it is stunning. The architecture within the grounds is just beautiful and it is really quite large. There is a lot to see and actually a lot of places to get lost. My friend and I had a map and the map didn't even really help us because we were still like, where are we? There was just so much to see. It also is split into 2 parts, the east and the west cemeteries of Highgate, and the west is more, I would say, picturesque. It has the cemeteries of Karl Marx and George Michael. It also has catacombs and mausoleums inside, and it is just very beautiful to walk around. I think it also features architecture that you just wouldn't see in many other cemeteries. Highgate was opened in 1839, and the original vaults, catacombs and mausoleums can be viewed today. As well as being picturesque, visitors do flock to this location because of its paranormal activity. In the 70s, there's a story about a creepy man who was roaming the grounds of the Highgate Cemetery, and a lot of people raised suspicions as to what he was doing there. A magician called Sean Manchester claimed that this man was a vampire after speaking to people that had recently been attacked. The locals decided that they were going to hunt this man down, find him, and work out why he was actually there. But the night of the hunt, Sean Manchester did not appear. In fact, he completely disappeared and was never seen again. This reinstated the idea that the man was a vampire, as locals then believed that he killed Sean Manchester because Sean Manchester outed him. Since the incident, more and more people have said to seen this strange man roaming the grounds of Highgate, and this is now said to be haunted by a vampire. Now, I had done this research before I went to Highgate, and I was on high alert to be looking for this lone, strange man, but I did not see a thing. The ghost of Karl Marx is also said to be seen wandering the cemetery, as his grave is there, but he is a kind spirit with no ill intentions, he's just roaming the grounds. There was also a story that a man's car had broken down right outside Highgate Cemetery, and he was very startled to see a red-eyed ghost peering through the railings at him. There is also a tale of a phantom bicycle that once scared a young mother. So apparently this bicycle was like a ghostly apparition that just came out of nowhere, was charging at full speed down this slope and just absolutely petrified this poor woman. The vampire has now made consistent reappearances in modern history, as something seems to constantly move through the CCTV very, very quickly and often shut off the cameras completely. So whether you do go to Highgate for the paranormal activity or the beautiful architecture, Highgate is definitely not one to be missed. Number 2 is the Queen's House. Greenwich Queen's House has a fascinating piece of paranormal evidence that was produced in the 60s. A retired Canadian reverend took this photo with his wife and made paranormal researchers very, very excited, as photography is pinnacle in supernatural research. They say that there's 2 ghosts in this photo, but I can only see one, so what can you see? Another sighting was from a gallery assistant in 2002. It said that he was talking to 2 of his colleagues when across the balcony he saw a floating apparition. It was dressed in a white-grey dress and it floated through the wall. During research, I did want to find out more about this house and more sightings within it, but actually what is quite interesting is they're willing to tell you more if you directly message them. So if you do let me know what you find. If you do go see it, do let me know if you see anything or feel anything within the building. Number 1 on our list is the Tower of London. For nearly 1,000 years, the Tower of London operated as a prison. Prisoners included Elizabeth I, Anne Boleyn, and the Cray twins. The Cray twins were actually the last prisoners to be held at the Tower of London. There is so much ghostly activity at the Tower of London that actually it may need its own video. But just for summary of this video, it is said that Anne Boleyn haunts the greens of the Tower of London. The cousin of Elizabeth I, who was starved in her imprisonment, also haunts the tower. Henry VI is also said to haunt the Wakefield Tower as he was stabbed there. And there is also accounts of the White Lady, which reminded me of the very first video I ever created on Bury Pomeroy Castle, which also had their very own White Lady. But the more research I'm doing on castles, the more White Ladies there seems to be. Maybe I do a video on all the White Ladies of all the castles. Who knows? The White Lady in the Tower of London is said that she taps you on the shoulder, and once you turn around to look at her, she disappears in a white shadowy mist. There is also a Grey Lady, but she is only ever seen to female visitors. There is also said to be a huge amount of other royal members of the Tower of London who are said to haunt it. The Tower of London is absolutely notorious for its fatal history and paranormal activity. No wonder it is one of the most visited sites of London. I have never been in the Tower of London, and it is something that I desperately need to do, but every time I go past it, it is absolutely filled with people. There are constantly people queuing, there are people trying to take pictures of the beefeaters, or just people taking photos, because actually it's quite a beautiful building. But like I say, it is completely overwhelmed with information on Google and other research sites about the Tower of London, so I think it probably honours its own video. So we have reached the end of this list. Would you agree or disagree with any of those in it? Have you been to see any of these attractions? Because actually most of them I did not know before research. If you have, what did you feel? What did you see? Do let me know in the comments box below, and as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here. Thank you for liking and subscribing and commenting. I do look at every single comment that I receive on every single video. Thank you for being here. Thank you for reaching the end of this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.